This is an incoming transmission from the Jersey Shore.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group. Today you'll hear some of the most important financial information and wealth-building techniques available anywhere.
Let's get this party started, huh?
Do you have a question for Scott and the team?
Am I on the air?
609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646.
We'll get that information to them by radio.
Now, Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
Last year was a year for the financial record books, but for the wrong reasons, unfortunately. What's the latest on our national debt situation? More importantly, how could these things impact your retirement? We're also going to be talking about how your money can work for you and go over some mailbag questions later on. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean. And if you hear something on the show today, if you have questions, you can call the number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. We got Scott with us. We're going to jump into it. But first... Yes, Scott, you know this very well. 90 years ago, it was before your time, but you're aware, 1933, that's the Lone Ranger making its radio debut on a Detroit radio station featuring the William Tell Overture and a shout-out of Hi-Ho Silver Away, as you're familiar with. So the Lone Ranger, 90 years ago, and the magic of radio. Here we are, 90 years later, still on the radio, my friend, still making it happen.
I like this sound when you started, Alex, because if you remember, we had the Great Recession, 1929, and it was near the bottom of 1932-33. The market was slowly ticking up. So if you look at the music in light of the market slowly coming back, that to me was a cool correlation. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but I can tell you I am very aware of the history of the stock market, and that is kind of a great correlation for those of you listening, because we're in a tizzy right now, aren't we, Alex?
Yeah, a little bit, as the U.S. national debt over $31 trillion. We hit the debt ceiling in late January. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says the federal government needs to implement extraordinary measures to keep from defaulting on our debt obligation. White House urging Congress to raise the debt ceiling without condition to avoid financial catastrophe. And House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says he hasn't ruled out raising the debt limit, but says we must have a responsible debt ceiling. And that's his message to President Biden.
So the longer he waits, the more he puts the fiscal jeopardy of America up for grabs. We should sit down and get this done and stop playing politics.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds nice, but they all play politics, Scott. But when it gets down to it, my friend, what do you think of this situation, what Kevin says, and the rest of them?
It is a serious matter. I think about Social Security. I've been doing Social Security workshops now for the past, 15 years. And it seems like every single year, I do a Social Security workshop. It seems like the number that they're going to reduce the Social Security is now getting shorter. For example, if you look back a couple of years ago, we're thinking the Social Security is going to have a 25% cut by 2037. Well, now it's 2032, and it could be a big haircut in 2032. So it's going to affect us that are in retirement or nearing retirement. So not paying attention to this, I'm glad Kevin said that. He does have some muscles, and I hope he follows through, both Democrats and Republicans. I think about this inflation that's absolutely out of control. And I remember my daughter and my sons, we were at the airport. And if you ever go down the elevator, the escalator, and of course they wanted to play. And of course, what do? Almost like planning for retirement, like walking up the down escalator, right?
Of course, yeah.
And of course, they have to go faster and faster. If they stay still, they're going to go down and hit the bottom, which most people are not paying attention to their investments. So they have to actually work harder to go up the down elevator, and that's going to affect someone's retirement. You think about really being in progress towards retirement, you need to climb faster than the rate of inflation. And it is actually out of control, but slowly coming down. So this is really important for those of us listening now. And hopefully they're taking heed by not sitting on their laurels. And I say, as the putting your head in the sand just exposes your vitals, your money.
Well, and
Don't let that happen.
And Scott, we hear about the debt, but what does it really mean? Like, why do we care? And how can the size of our federal debt impact retirees?
It's going to really affect the retirees. In number one, as you look at expenses, expenses are increasing. It's happening right in front of us right now, whether it's electricity, gas, oil. Things are out of control. So now you're living on a fixed income. And if the advisor really doesn't pay attention to the fixed income, how much they're bringing in, and here we have a increase. And we have now food prices going up 15%. You're probably not going to go out to eat as much. You're probably not going to enjoy the freedoms, or you can enjoy the freedom, but you've got to really learn to cut back, to live under what you used to live. You're going to really not enjoy as much benefits that we all enjoy. They're going to be cut down. Maybe you're going to go boating. For those here in our local area of Waretown, Barnegat, Manahawkin, Little Egg Harbor, you go down all the way down south to Cape May. Boating is going to be less for those people who don't have as much money handling gas. So go out with your friends and split it. Still enjoy the time, but there's got to be ways. You've got to make plans to make your life fun. And of course, making sure that the investment income, this is really important. You can't spend growth. Remember, stocks go up, hopefully, and they go down. But if you have an investment vehicle that's paying a dividend, you can spend the dividend by organically investing and enjoy the income while the market's going up or down, but enjoying the income based on the investment tool you're investing in. This is critical. This is not just buying a bunch of ETFs or mutual funds. That's just double dumb. You really need to focus on these individual tools by way of contract to give you a nice income, or for those other types of contracts who give you a guaranteed income that will last the rest of your life. That's important.
If you have questions, Scott can be reached at 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. Scott, with all this, we can expect some tax increases. What do you talk about when you're talking about with your retirees about the possibility of increases with taxes in retirement?
Well, obviously, taxes are inevitable, and they keep going up. People are saying, Scott, should I invest in Roth IRAs or not Roth IRAs? How do I take my money out? Just a young couple came in yesterday. He was 78 years old. His wife was 76. They inherited money from from her sister. They inherited money, and I saw all the different investment vehicles. I'm going to tie this up for those of you out there. But the wife received this beautiful benefit, causing excessive taxes. But on top of that, she had several different investments. And she says to me, I'm going to just cash everything in. I said, whoa, time out, please, calm down. Let's walk through the process of your tax return and your inheritance and how to pull the money out. Well, because the federal government, as you know, Alex, because taxes now have changed on inheritance, you have to pull the money out, not over your lifetime, but over a 10-year period. The second thing is, could there be inheritance tax for her? She was not a New Jersey resident. How's the tax going to impact her? And then, do they need the money or not need the money? These are questions that those of you listening right now, I hope you don't go into this. When you see a loved one die and inherit money, this is the big mistakes I find, because taxes are going to increase, Alex. You've seen that. If you look at the history, they've gone up and they've gone down. Hopefully they get this deficit we started at the beginning in control, because they've got to pay off this debt. They're printing so much money. It's almost, it's outrageous, which McCarthy, as you played, has to get this under control on both sides of the aisle. But when this lovely couple were going to cash in the investments, they would have made a $420,000 mistake. That would have cost them. They would have changed their tax bracket, looking at their tax return in light of their insurance investments, in light of the inheritance, and they would have had to pay an extra 30%, both federal tax. They would have had to pony up that money, and then of course that's going to cost them over $100,000. Oh, actually, it was $127,000 of tax had they done it their way. Luckily, they came in. They got it was a free consult. I'd love to sit down with people. And frankly, the time we spent with them, they left saying, "Wow, this is terrible taking all the money." I said, "Wait a minute, whoa. It's a blessing. It's how you look at the blessing. The taxes are the curse, but this is money that your sister gave you. Or maybe those of you, your spouse had passed away. Maybe, unfortunately, a child had passed away and you inherited money. These are times not to make quick decisions, because we are talking about taxes. We're talking about the marginal tax bracket. It could be by taking extra money out, it will bump the marginal tax bracket. Maybe you're in a zero tax bracket. You could be automatically jumping up to 20, 30% taxes and not even know it, because you're looking at one thing. You're not looking at the entire picture, as I talk about in my book, The Three Blind Mice. How the financial planning process, Alex, really leads people to the mousetrap, and the mousetrap is taxes, because taxes are going to rise. They're going to go up, and we're going to get a left hook because we have a lot of deficit. That's a lot, huh?
Yeah, a little bit going on. 609.
I'm sorry.
No, 609-488-4646. 609-488-4646. And Scott, got a couple minutes left in the segment. And, we're talking about stuff that's going on right now in the economy, and it's important. But by no means is this some sort of scare tactic or anything like that, Scott. It really is you being in a position where you can hear what's going on. You can hear the noise. You can hear the quotes from this side, that side of the aisle. And you can remember history, and you can frame up context for people, and that's just one of your great values of coming to talk to you, where people might hear things and they can't quite decipher it just because they haven't been doing this for 4+ decades like you have. And so just talk a little bit about the value that you can bring, where you can come in and you can be a level head and really break down what exactly is going on.
It's almost like long-term investing. You kind of multiply the eggs in your basket, because most people focus on producing more eggs, making more money, get a higher rate of returns, but they pay very little attention, I call it, to the fox that perpetually robs the hen house. Are people paying attention? I think about, if you ignore the fox, there eventually will be nobody left to produce the eggs. And so by taking the concept of paying attention with the legal documents, the inheritance, the taxes, and the investment, this is where the conundrum comes in people's lives. They put their head in the sand. They don't pay attention. They cash everything in if it's an investment, or they change their investment strategies, or maybe they don't pay attention when they're about to retire, and maybe they should change their investment strategies before they retire and understand what to do, so that you can actually look at the fox in the hen house and shoot that daggum fox so it doesn't eat your money.
Oh, here
By
comes
the way, I
PETA.
like animals.
Here comes PETA, Scott. Way to go, buddy.
I love animals. I don't want to. By the way, we have a bunch of animals, so I'm not literally shooting the fox. But let me make it clear: in the world of the agriculture world, the foxes could not be good for you if you're, of course, raising eggs. So be very careful out there, guys.
Love it.
And gals.
Financial Insanity with Scott McLean. 609-488-4646. 609-488-4646. We're going to hear from some of you later on. We have some mailbag questions coming our way. But first, coming up next, how you can make your money work for you. Don't go anywhere.
Scott McLean at McLean Advisory Group often talks about the difference between retirement savings and retirement income. It isn't necessarily how much money you have saved that's most important. It's having a steady stream of income in retirement no matter how long you live. Scott has strategies that can help you create consistent monthly income for the rest of your life. He can help you make important decisions today so you can have the income you need in retirement. Having a big nest egg is great, but how will it provide you with the income you need for as long as you live? The number to get more information from Scott at McLean Advisory Group is 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. Turn your portfolio into a plan with help from Scott McLean. 609-488-4646. Investing involves risk. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services are offered through Bell Point Asset Management, LLC.
We made it back. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
It truly is not about how much you make. It's how much you can keep that really counts. It's less about the number of dollars you save, more about the strategies you use with those savings. Because really, Scott, as you know, money's got to be moving in the same direction for a singular purpose, your retirement. What are some things we can do to get our money moving in the right direction?
Take control of it. Number one, it would be taking control of your money. Where's it going? We talked about budget. We talked about how much you're going to live. For those people who are going into retirement, looking at your numbers. And then taking control of your money leads to another, being consistent. And of course, usually in every family, if you're still married or have a significant other, maybe a partner, who's watching the beans? Who's counting the beans? And are we really paying attention to the dollar? Now, this is basic to all y'all listen to this right now. Very basic. But the problem is it gets out of hand by really not paying attention. I'll never forget Dad and Mama. And of course, my dad did the bills, and Mom was always yelling because they wanted to buy things. And Dad said, "Look, Joan," throws her the checkbook and said, "Here, Joan, you do it. You handle the checkbook." Boy, I know you guys out there are probably laughing like Alex is, but you know what? Time and consistency. If you've been doing it all the time, and maybe your loved one out there is not doing it, they need to be involved, because one of y'all just might pass away. And if you pass away now, they're actually threw the college manual into their hands, and they aren't even in kindergarten. In other words, you passed the baton, but they're not ready to run. And I think this is a good time to have a discussion about it, especially for your kids. I think when I wrote a program with Citibank and wrote called a financial program, a literacy course, Alex, I'm not sure if I mentioned that to you, but in designing this program, it's how money works for kindergartens right up to high school. And of course, no one would take it. But again, time and consistency, taking control of your money, knowing what, and maybe adjusting your lifestyle. And that brings me to a funny thing. When we were speaking off the air a second ago, Alex, you mentioned what your clients are doing. We just had a couple of clients that have significant money in the bank and in their investments, and they've invested with us. And it's funny, they both came in at the same time today. One came in and the other client was leaving, and a good friend of ours. All my clients are great friends. And I said, "Y'all are two peas in a pod." And they looked at me like, "What do you mean, Scott?" I said, "Y'all are cheap. You're very cheap." And of course, my staff said, "Scott, they're frugal." Yeah, just like me. They go to the thrift store. They buy secondhand stuff for the kids, secondhand books, secondhand toys, because they know they're going to I just laughed. I just was so amazed and enamored of these two ladies that were leaving, and their husbands were with them, and they're both cracking up. And are you frugal out there? In times like this, you're going to hear this. "Mom, can I borrow some money?" "Dad, we're kind of a little behind. Can you help us out?" When you get those calls, you really need to know your budget. You need to have control in your money, and you need to have enough nerve, or I say to some guys, testosterone shots or estrogen shots for you women, to say the cuss word. And the famous cuss word my dad always said to me, not always, by the way, but I should say many times, "No." He might not give me the answer why, but of course I would prod him because I wanted to know why. But most of the time he would go in depth. "Let me tell you why, son." And in my book, I spoke about it in chapter 11. My first loan I got from my dad, Alex, I don't know if he told you this, but I bought a bicycle. And I knew my dad had money, and at least I thought he had a lot of money. And he said, I said, Dad, my friends have a Schwinn bicycle. Can I get a Schwinn bicycle? He looked at me, and we were at dinner time. He said, sure, son. How much you got? Well, their dad's bought them. I said, well, son, you got a birthday coming up. Maybe I'll help you a little bit. And of course, my mom chimed in and says, no, you pay for it. Well, Dad only have $50. And the bike I want's 110. Can I borrow it? Now, all I was thinking about is getting that bike, Alex, nothing else. You know what my dad did? Right there, he said, Joan, which is my mom, give me a piece of paper. Grabbed a piece of paper and he started writing on it. And he started writing on this piece of paper. And I looked at him, Dad, what are you doing? Don't worry about it, son. Son, what kind of bike do you want? I want a blue Flandria. You do? Okay. 10-speed? Yeah, Dad. All my friends have Schwinns and I can't afford it. All right, son. He then finished writing. He said, here, I'm going to loan you the money at 10% and you're going to pay me back $10 a week over the next 6 weeks. Oh, by the way, whatever the tax is, we'll add on to this. And then he said to me brilliantly, as he held the paper in the air and showed it to me as what the words were, very simple. And son, this is not, I don't trust you. This is an agreement between you and I, just in case I forget. He instilled to me at a very young age, if they're going to loan me money, I'm going to pay it back. And boy, did he hit home. By the way, if you're going to give your kids money, look at your budget. And I know that's really big right now. I've spoken to many families, and some of you, it wouldn't even hurt you to give them tons of money. And thank God for you. You're blessed. But there's other people out there that are going to give you your right arm and your left leg just to help your kids out. And then you're going to suffer in case maybe your loved one dies. You lose your Social Security, your husband's Social Security, your wife's Social Security. I should say your spouse's Social Security. You lose it. And now you lost that big nest egg, that big check. It's not coming in anymore. But then you loaned the money out or you started giving it away freely because everything was fine. This is, again, A, not knowing your budget, B, not taking control, Alex. And I know that's a long-winded answer, but if you need help out there and you're about to retire, let me help you. Let me guide you. Let me show you the things I show our clients before they retire. So when they're in retirement and I know they're going to make a mistake, they know how to get back on track. We all make mistakes. There's nothing wrong with that. But we all have to learn the cuss word no. We also need to know our budget. And so I know this is basic for those of you listening out there. Oh, this is boring. Hey, this is real. This is real. Because what happens behind the scene is if Dad didn't let me borrow money, I guarantee I'd have gone behind the scenes to Mom and beg her. I'd have done something to get that bicycle.
That never happens. What are you talking about? That would never happen. 609-488-4646. If you have questions, if you need help, guidance, and saying no every once in a while, number 609-488-4646.
Love to help you people out there. If you have questions or concerns, I can tell you off the air, I'll help you.
And Scott, rightfully so. It's all about saving money while we're working. But in retirement, it's really about creating that income that we no longer are getting from maybe that job. So how do we take those savings, turn them into income for retirement? It seems simple, but it's complex.
It's really not simple. It seems simple when you're young, because when you're young, you just put the money in the bank and over time it grows, time and consistency, and by just plowing it away. And as compound interest works, heck, if you get a nice compound interest, $100 a month from age 0 to 45 years old, you got what, $175,000? A little bit of money, just a little bit of money, but it's time. Then this next thing is income. I'd like you to put your noodles on if you're listening right now. And I like to use a formula that's a very powerful formula that I think you might be able to gravitate to or use. It's TR equals I plus G. TR equals I plus G. And this is a mistake I find all the time. TR equals total return. What's the total return on your investments? And how the total return comes in is I, the interest income or the dividend income, plus G, growth. Now, in this stock market that we're in right now, the market seems to be like a Singer sewing machine. Make a noise, a Singer sewing machine going zzz. Yeah, that's right, up and down. And when the market goes up and down, how can you make money? You see, when the market was screaming from the year 2001 to 2002, you could pull out money by way of growth, which means if you, let's say, had $100,000 in the bank, and here by the end of 2021, the 100,000 becomes 120,000, a 20% rate of return. And so you pull out the 10,000 bucks, or let's say 10%, piece of cake. But in an economy that is now waning and up and down, you need to focus on the I, not the G, so you can retire comfortably. Focus on the I, not the G, to retire comfortably. What's the I? Well, the I isn't growth stocks, it's income stocks. It's the steady income you're going to get from dividend or interest producing vehicles. For example, for those people that are out there at the banks right now, there are vehicles out there that right now have the ability to have some guaranteed fixed rate of return, much more than the 2%. That's what's going on right now here in the year 2022. Why? Because that's how they're designed. But the banks aren't paying anything, so you're not getting ahead. That would be why in earning money by way of interest. Imagine if you're getting 2% in the bank and you got $100,000, you're getting $2,000. But if you have $100,000 in other vehicles that are going to pay 4%, which they're out there today, well, that's a 100% increase. In other words, $4,000. Let me break it down even easier. If you had $4,000, you got $100,000, you're getting $4,000 a year of interest, not growth. That's an extra $300 a month to pay for that gas, because the gas in your car is costing you $300 a month. So investing for income. Other vehicles, Alex, out there are called investments that are paying dividends, such as short-term bonds. I'm not telling you to buy them, guys. Short-term bonds. Ladies, preferred stocks. And other vehicles like them that has a contract to pay a specific amount of interest, or they would call in this world the dividend. And some pay twice a year. Some of the vehicles pay 4 times a year, and some of them by contract could pay monthly. And by way of contract, that's how you could invest to get that nice dividend income. So you really need to pay attention to the I, not the G, in a market that's dropping. Alex, I don't know if you understand this, and I'm sure you do, because if you have a growth account that made 20%, when the market starts to drop, you could have what's it down now? Almost 22%. You lost all that gains. And just to break even, you've got to make a lot of money. Invest for the I, not for the G, if you need income. And buying those income tools is a specific game plan. It's a specific way to invest for the interest income or the dividend. It's not just throw darts like many advisors today are doing. It's really focused and really extreme focus on what tools can I get to pay. And as interest rates go up, the dividend stocks can be going down, but the yield could be going up. What a great time. So if you're looking for more income, 609-488-4646. Let me help you understand investing for income, because when you're pulling money out by way of growth on a monthly basis, you actually have to sell shares of stock, the S's. You have to sell shares of stock or
by the seashore.
It's right, at the seashore, yeah. You have to sell a lot more shares of stock if the market's going down, which could cannibalize your assets, and it could be like Casper the Friendly Ghost. Your money is gone away, and you didn't know where it went. By pulling money by way of reverse dollar cost averaging.
I love it, Scott. And if people have questions, if they want to seek out some advice, you can reach Scott 609-488-4646. Retirement is not a sprint. It is more like a marathon. How do you plan for something, though, when you can't even see the finish line? More financial insanity on the way.
Scott McLean at McLean Advisory Group often talks about the difference between retirement savings and retirement income. It isn't necessarily how much money you have saved that's most important. It's having a steady stream of income in retirement no matter how long you live. Scott has strategies that can help you create consistent monthly income for the rest of your life. He can help you make important decisions today so you can have the income you need in retirement. Having a big nest egg is great, but how will it provide you with the income you need for as long as you live? The number to get more information from Scott at McLean Advisory Group is 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. Turn your portfolio into a plan with help from Scott McLean. 609-488-4646. Investing involves risk. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services are offered through Bell Point Asset Management, LLC.
Why doesn't Sherlock Holmes pay a lot in taxes? Because he makes brilliant deductions. Welcome back to Financial Insanity, brought to you by McLean Advisory Group.
Retirement definitely is not a sprint. It's maybe more like a marathon, because you have to pace yourself so you don't wear yourself out before you get to the finish line. But the challenge with the marathon of retirement is you don't really know where the finish line is. We're living longer than any generation before us. There's no telling how long that we might live. Scott, are your clients concerned about running out of money before they run out of life? And how can you help ensure that their money continues to work for them through retirement?
How do you insure them? Well, I don't know how to really insure them. I call it more educate them, Alex, because in educating people that really don't know how money works that well, and I assume everybody coming in here doesn't know it. I didn't say they're dumb. I didn't say they're frankly, I've got doctors coming in here, engineers coming in here, and I want to break it down real simple. But if you want to ensure that you have got income for the rest of your life, there are tools out there that can really do a very, very good job. Frankly, in I think it was 2016 or 17, there was a vehicle out by a company called SBLI. Interest rates were very, very low, but they had a vehicle that paid a guaranteed 4%. Now, it wasn't heard of. This company's been around since like 1907. Very highly rated company, good company, insurance vehicle. And I don't like annuities that much. Frankly, there's 4 types out there. I totally really don't like 2 of them very rapidly, which I think people should run from. But this vehicle was called a fixed annuity and was fixed because they're fixed by 4%, like a CD. So imagine they put in $200,000 and they're going to get 4% or $8,000 a year. Now they could either leave that money in there or they could take out $667 a month for the period of time that vehicle was. It was a guaranteed fixed vehicle. Now, by the way, the vehicles are coming back now. Now, that is one way to, by way of contract, get it guaranteed from the insurance company who is the one guaranteeing it and backing it, not Scott McLean. But they're guaranteeing it based on the company they have and the rules. Now, the beauty is if they were to pass away, unlike other types of annuities, their family gets the principal if they're only pulling out the interest if they passed away. So that's one way, Alex, to have some kind of guarantees. If you invested by way of people are investing by way of bonds, and they were buying bonds because in the old days, that was the catch-all. I buy a bond, the bond pays a 5% dividend, and I know I'm getting 5% based on the company. Of course, I have to say this with my securities hat on, if the company doesn't go bankrupt. but bonds pay way of interest. They usually pay twice a year. But if the company goes bankrupt, like our company called General Motors, when that happened, of course, you didn't get that bond. For every $100, you got 18 cents or 22 cents. So, but that's a way to get money, but is it guaranteed? Well, hopefully the company will be around. So there are other vehicles out there that can give you a steady income. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I told you the story. There's a guy named George from Staten Island. Woo, did he have an accent? I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I've kind of got rid of my accent, and but he had a real strong accent. He came to one of our workshops as I was educating them. We spoke about one vehicle, and he came in from our workshop. He said, "Hey, kid," and he threw a piece of paper on my desk, actually a contract. I got this. My cousin sold to me. Yeah, what is it? I looked at it. He looks at me. He sticks his chest out, and he's got this real boisterous attitude from from Staten Island, and I loved him to death. Him and his wife, beautiful. And I said, George, this contract. He goes, yep. My cousin sold it to me. He would never hurt me. He would never take advantage of me. He sold it to me, and I'm getting a guaranteed 6% on that contract every year. Take a look, kid. I looked at the contract, and I noticed, I said, wow, George, would you mind if I did something? And he said, sure, what do you want to do? Let's call the company and ask them, frankly, what this means. Guys, I've been doing this thing now going over 41 years. But I didn't want to tell him what I read. I know how to read a contract pretty quickly. I've done pretty good in this field, but I didn't want him to think I was trying to sway him to work with me.
Sure.
So we called the insurance company, and this was 2009. And George bought this contract in 2006. Oh. So he's had the contract for 3 years. He sticks his chest out. Yeah, ask any question you want. So I called him up and I asked several questions. Question number one, what's the current contract value at, and what's the highest value? It's $354,000 is the income benefit. The guy smiles. Certainly, and I asked the insurance lady on the phone from the company. Now, the reason, Alex, I didn't call his agent, I wanted to get it from the horse's mouth. I wanted to hear it directly from the company, not the agent, which I get a unskewed position. And I didn't want to insult anybody. That was not my demeanor. So I asked the question. So we have $354,000. If he had to pull money out, how much does his wife, if he were to take money out, or they needed money at their money in there? Well, the current cash value in that contract right now is $187,000. He had a fit. His face gets real red, and then he says some words, 4-letter words I don't say on the radio. He says, "What the are you talking about? You're full of." And so I said, "Whoa." I asked the representative for the company. They said, "What is that $187,000?" He said, "Sir, that's the cash value." Oh, so that's the cash value of the product? Yes. I said, "Well, I'm confused." Now I knew it, but I wanted him to hear it from the company. Yep. I said, "Could you explain what the $354,000 benefit was?" And he's sitting there with a big smile. As the guy's looking on my shoulder, and the operator got on the phone. "Sir, that $354,000 is what's called income for life." So the income for life, can you explain how that works? And they said, yes. If he chose to take out 5% a year of the $354,000, how much would that be? And they said, well, $17,700. So he can pull out, frankly, $1,475 a month for his entire life. But the cash value is only 187? Yes. Oh, all right. He was confused. There's two big numbers there. One reason why people are confused about annuities is because they can be very hard to decipher, which is why when people give us a call or when they come in, they actually show them to me, because the IRS has what's called the 1035 rule that could really help them out. But I won't go there yet. So I then asked the woman, I said, well, let me ask you something. if he was pulling money out, what happens if he dies? What does his wife get? She would get the $187,000. He didn't have a death benefit on top of that, but he had $187,000 of cash value. And hopefully, if that grows, it could be less. But whatever is coming out of that product, $1,475, that comes off of the 187. There was a silence. Wait a minute. Isn't there a death benefit? Yes, there's a death benefit, but if he's pulling money out and he used the annuitization and he's just simply pulling out the 5%, he could be getting, his spouse could be getting less money based on what option he chose in the contract. So I then said, well, let me ask you a question. Is there fees in this product? And there were. Alex, I don't know if anybody's out there that has a vehicle called a variable annuity. And by the way, I'm licensed. We can offer these products. I don't like them. I can service them. But at the fee, there was 5 individual fees. And it's not noted on most all of the variable annuity products. What he didn't know that he had was he was paying 4% in fees. Now, if you're doing the math, what's 4% of 300,000 out there? $12,000 in fees. Imagine paying $12,000 in fees for the past 3 years. $36,000 that comes out of the cash value. And by the way, the stock market was dropping from 2007 to 2009, and it was almost a 60% drop. Now, he was in the stock market. That's why it dropped so radically. And they could have changed it to safer vehicles, but this is a vehicle that's misunderstood. So if you're looking for some guarantees, income, as you mentioned to me, Alex, income that I can bank on, I can live on, this is why you go to someone who specializes on sound income strategies that could last the rest of your life. And knowing how to position people in those areas could be very important. By the way, there's other products out there that can get a guaranteed income for life, but this is one tool that's really, really misunderstood. I wanted to get that out there, Alex.
And it's a great example. And if you're out there and maybe you're a little overconfident about your plan, or maybe you're a little too trusting of your cousin who set you up, like
right.
George, you can call Scott and get more information. He can be reached at the studio, 609-488-4646. The number is 609-488-4646. And it's a great thing, Scott, that we're living longer, but this does create some specific challenges, and things are different than they were for previous generations. And what are some things we might need to plan for?
Longevity, as you well said. Are we running our money? Are we spending too much money? Again, from the beginning of this segment, this show, is again knowing our budget. Number 2, how are we taking income? We spoke about. Are we taking it by way of income, by way of the I, or are we taking it by way of the G? Are we invested too risky? If the market has another 20% drop, or like it did in 2007 to 2009, a 60%, how will many people listening right now fare out? Have they shifted? Are they paying attention to what's happening right now? And maybe they should hang in there, don't worry. Well, that's good. Maybe for some money. For other money, maybe they need to pay attention how to make the money last longer. Pay attention to taxes. The power of deferred savings, compound interest, and reduction of taxes could help your money last a lot longer, because we are living a lot longer. So I guess in scenario of our health, some of us need to get off the couch and start running. So if you're on the couch, you might want to get that potato butt off that couch and maybe get your booty out in the sun and start running, or maybe run with an umbrella if it's raining, but get out of the house, or maybe start swimming, or pick up a sport or hobby, or just go for a nice walk by yourself or with your lovely mate, or you with your dog, or just get out. But again, exercise is so important. Why do you think people in Florida are so excited all the time, half the time? They're outside enjoying the sun. They get that vitamin D in your system. You feel better. We're living a lot longer. The worst thing is living a lot longer and we're miserable. We're unhealthy. And by the way, I do have some health issues. And I have to work on those health issues. When I got rheumatoid arthritis, I got to fight it every day. But I'm not going to be that couch potato. I've got to keep in shape. And it's so easy to enjoy those 3 bowls of ice cream when you probably don't even need one. So again, watch how you eat.
That's
So I'm
great.
not sure that helps anybody out there, but I can tell you, pay attention to those details because we are living a lot longer. And hopefully those listening are being active. They're getting out there. They're meeting new people and stimulating your life with new people, vibrant, being excited and jacked up and the person you want to be.
Yeah, you want to be able to enjoy that extra time if you're going to have it. For answers to your questions, you can contact us 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646.com. Scott helping us stay sane when the markets are a little volatile. This is Financial Insanity, out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity.
Scott McLean at McLean Advisory Group often talks about the difference between retirement savings and retirement income. It isn't necessarily how much money you have saved that's most important. It's having a steady stream of income in retirement no matter how long you live. Scott has strategies that can help you create consistent monthly income for the rest of your life. He can help you make important decisions today so you can have the income you need in retirement. Having a big nest egg is great, but how will it provide you with the income you need for as long as you live? The number to get more information from Scott at McLean Advisory Group is 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. Turn your portfolio into a plan with help from Scott McLean. 609-488-4646. Investing involves risk. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services are offered through Bell Point Asset Management, LLC.
Sounds like the mailman's here.
It's time to answer questions from the McLean Advisory Group mailbag.
Now time for one of our funnest segments. We really enjoy this, getting questions from the audience. Scott, I know you're ready for our mailbag segment. You're listening to Financial Insanity. And if you hear something and it raises an idea, concern, something you may have, 609-488-4646 is the number, 609-488-4646. And Scott, let's just jump right into it here, my friend. Here's the first question. This person's worked at the same company for 25 years. They had a 401k there. That's great. But a big merger, and now I'm not sure how to track down that account. I've definitely heard of this happening before. What tips do you have for Scott for trying to seek out that old 401k?
Wow. Well, first of all, they should have a statement at least once a month, if not once a quarter, for the statements of the 401k. If they've been there for 25 years, I can tell you they've been either not paying attention to statements or maybe they checked off a box on their investment to make it all email, but they need to call the HR department. Of course, based on the big merger, you want to see if there's any stock options. Did they have any stock options? Were they there before the company? Obviously, you've been there for 25 years. There might be some options there. And so you need to go to the HR department, then over the investment department, ask them, of course, where's the money? Maybe it's payroll. Maybe it's that simple, but it's being real proactive. And if you start hearing the rumbling in the street, make sure you get your affairs in order and then have a meeting with someone, with an advisor who can look at holistically their investments. And if they got laid off, not laid off, there's going to be a buyout. What's going to happen? This is a lot of questions there. That's a huge question on just one simple question, but it's really, really big. And I think you're going to hear, based on the economy, how it's going, you're going to hear about perhaps layoffs. Like when I was a young kid in the 80s, they call it age discrimination. Well, now they can just go ahead and get rid of the old people because they have it contractually. So this is really important. You pay attention to your investments, your dollars, and again, where are they to make good money?
That's great, Scott. All right, another question here. This person says they've done a pretty good job keeping track of that dreaded B word, the budget, and finances during adult life. But, important question here, why is it so important to have someone else do this budgeting for you in retirement?
You know, everybody who wants to win in sports and goes into competition, they're not their own coach. They've got to get a coach. And so you might be overlooking things, maybe overseeing how you're working out, how you throw the football, how you hit the golf ball. They need a coach. When it comes to investment, this is really, really challenging when you try to do it yourself, you run the budget. And if you go meet with an investment advisor who's done this for many, many years, they've seen people make good mistakes and bad mistakes. There are good mistakes. You can correct things, obviously. At least you tried. But there's no do-overs in retirement. So having another set of eyes is almost like, it's almost like when I was looking for my keys the other day, and my wife said, I said, where's my keys? Where'd you put my keys? Scott, look on the table. I'm looking on the table. Scott, are you looking at the table? Look to your left. I'm looking to my left. Now, obviously, I was in a hurry. I need to get out. But she came over to me. She grabbed my hand kindly and very calmly, luckily. A scotoma is something you don't see, even though it's right in front of you. This is why people need another fresh set of eyes, because there are no do-overs in retirement, and one mistake could cost you hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, especially in choosing your Social Security and then choosing the right investment options. Alex, next.
Why are women so much better at finding things? It's not a question that's been sent in, but it's just true. It's just
more
true.
Patient.
If you have questions, the number for Scott, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Just a couple minutes left, Scott, and I just wanted to ask you, if somebody maybe is on the fence about coming in, giving you a holler, what can you tell people about what it's like, the first contacts with you, and maybe that first visit? If somebody wants to come in, maybe if you could just kind of explain what that process is like for folks that maybe are first-time visitors, first-time callers into you.
Well, that's really enjoyable time. I think I encourage people, as Alex, you were saying, give our studios a call, 609-488-4646. Ask for Bonnie. And what will happen is Bonnie will say, okay, great. She'll schedule a time to come in or over the phone. She'll ask you some questions. She'll send you a little questionnaire, not in depth, but just to get to know you. I want to get to know people, whether it's over the phone, via the Zoom, the internet stuff, you can see each other, or coming into the office. So what's it like? You come in the office. First of all, our staff is wonderful. Frankly, you can see that on our website. If you go right to our website, you'll see one of the first appointments. And when you come in, you'll be greeted by our staff is wonderful. When they answer the phone, they are wonderful. I'm very strict on that high relationship. This is a long-term deal. Then, of course, they come in, you meet the staff, then you'll meet myself or another advisor, George, and you will absolutely get asked lots of questions. You will not be asked to do business. Let me make it real clear, Alex. When you come into our office, we want to get to know you as well as you get to know us. The second most important thing is I need to know some detailed information. So we're going to ask lots of questions that's surrounding your family, who gets the money, your health, your benefits you have at work, your spouse. Perhaps your spouse passed away. Maybe you have inheritance. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff about you because it's about who? You. When I hear people going to a financial office and giving that financial guy or gal money for the first time or going to the bank, to me, they're just double dumb. Why? You need to get to know the whole picture, not just a quick salesman. That drives me absolutely crazy when people come in there and say, well, we got a great product, and they're selling product. It's not about product. It's about, well, we don't need, if we're a carpenter, we don't need a drill and we don't need a bit. We just want that hole. Well, to get the hole, you got to have a drill and a bit. I want to know what kind of planning, what kind of personality you are. Is this a good fit for me as well as a good fit for you? It's a two-way street because retirement planning, investment planning is a two-way street. It's got to meet. I need to know your investment strategies. I need to know your investment outlook. I need to understand the good, bad, and ugly you've been through so we can avoid those issues. This is why, whether it's one meeting or two meetings, we don't do business the first one or two meetings ever. We get to know people. This, to me, is very important.
I love it. I just love you framing that up for folks. 609-488-4646. 609-488-4646. This has been another episode of Financial Insanity with Scott McLean. Great show as always, my friend, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
All right, you too, my friend, and everybody out there.
This presentation may contain information which has undergone regulatory or other significant change since its original recording.
The information on this program is educational in nature and is not intended to be a recommendation for any specific investment product, strategy, plan, tax, or legal advice. Information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy. Discussions and answers to questions do not involve the rendering of personalized investment advice and is limited to the dissemination of general information and may not be suitable for members of the listening audience. Communications such as this are not impartial and are provided in connection with advertising and marketing for McLean Advisory Group. Prior to making any investment or financial decisions, an investor should always seek advice from a financial, insurance, legal, or tax professional. McLean Advisory Group and or Scott McLean offer investment advisory and financial planning services through Bell Point Asset Management, LLC.
This radio show is a paid placement.